Mayor of Dubbo Regional Council, Matthew Dickerson. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Back in Dubbo. Great to be back in Dubbo. Actually been over in the Hunter Valley the last couple of days, but it's always good to be back home, looking at your own community, the community that you love, and actually sleeping in your own bed.
Yeah, that's always a bonus. You're at the local government conference in the Hunter Valley. How'd it go?
Actually, really good. We had four of us there, four councillors there, and one of our directors there. And those three other councillors, apart from myself, were all brand new councillors for this term, never been on council before. And two of them have never been to one of these conferences before. And a few things came out of it. One of the things, and when I was just chatting to them before we came home and even on the way home, one of them was in the car with me. And one of the things that the new councillor said was that it was actually quite a good experience to go to that conference and find out that the things that we're experiencing in our LGA are generally pretty common across the entire state. So when we're talking about our roads and our road network and how much work that needs to be done on that, where do we get the funding for our road network, a bit of the cost shifting that's occurring from the state government across to councils, just some of the processes in terms of council, a bit of the frustration you might have and things take too long and all sorts of things. They've been in there trying to work really hard on solving lots of those issues for the Dubbo Regional Council area. But then when they got and talked to all of these people from the 128 councils across the state, they realised that these problems are pretty much similar to other councils around the state, these shared problems, and it just made them feel a bit better about the challenge that we've got ahead of us and other councils having the same problem. And then when they're hearing from some of the speakers, hearing from some of the ministers that came along, from some of the government representatives, they went, okay, and these other people are aware of these problems being common across the state. One of the good parts was the fact that we had a panel on one of the mornings and just some of the government representatives there. But Sam Farraway, the Minister for Roads, was there, and he announced an extra $50 million for the roads. You can imagine a bit of a cheer went across the whole room that was there. 95 councils can share in that, so they're basically the regional councils. We've got 2 weeks to apply for that, so we're actually still looking at the guidelines now to see what the guidelines are. We'll put in for as much money as possible. Now, that's great to see an extra $50 million, but across the 95 councils, I'm not sure exactly how it'll be distributed, but let's say it was evenly distributed. That means that Dubbo, for example, might get $500,000, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to knock that back, but we need a lot more. And to give you an idea, we're spending $28 million on our roads in this financial year in our budget. That's a normal part of our budget. We've estimated before these latest series of rain events that we had about a $40 million backlog. So that's a fair chunk of change we need there. $500,000 is good, but it just scratches the surface of exactly how much money we need.
Yes, it's funny when people go to conferences and stuff like the one you just mentioned, and they realise that they don't need to reinvent the wheel. There quite possibly is a solution there already.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's great. You sit around and you go to a dinner function, for example. At one of our functions, we had some people from the Greater Hume Council, we had some people from Bogan Shire Council, and so we talked about things. And again, there are so many common things you find, just the experience, how you deal with the community, what sort of issues you have with the community, and again, there were a lot of common issues there. But then the trade show, I always like to walk around the trade show and talk to some of the stall holders there, some of the sponsors of the event, and one of the particular sponsors there had a product that they believe is perfect for councils now. Keep in mind they are trying to sell the product, so maybe a bit of vested interest there, but they've got a product that helps treat potholes under when you've got a wet surface to deal with. So when you've got potholes being filled on wet dirt at the moment, the pothole filling is not that effective because that bitumen doesn't really stay in that pothole that well. But this particular product, which one of our staff members that was there got a sample of this particular product, that product will be used to do some testing in some of our potholes to see if this gives us better results with some of our patching. If it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, well, we brought home a couple of samples that weren't much good. But it's those sort of things when you learn about new things, new techniques, new methodologies. And again, that's those stallholders there trying to push their products out there, but they've got to have a good product to actually sell in the first place. So it's great to see that sort of thing as well.
And just very quickly, what's it looking like around the Dubbo Regional Council at the moment?
Well, we've got no rain at the moment as I speak right at the moment, which is a good thing. Every time there's a bit of rain coming, I get a bit nervous. There's certainly potholes around the area, but even driving across to the Hunter Valley, you go through a few different LGAs there. And again, it's one of those things that potholes and the roads aren't in great condition in the Dubbo LGA, but everywhere you go, the road across there along the Golden Highway there, certainly there were sections of that there was one section, in fact, that had been washed away completely, about a 10-metre section. They had a detour around this section of road there. So you just see that the roads across the state are in a pretty bad way. So Dubbo, we've seen some of these flood events that's impacting the roads. They're not in great condition, but probably no different to anywhere else across the state.
Thank you for your time this morning.
My pleasure, Rod.